So welcome back to GOT. Today we're going to put the new MacBook Neo up against my iPad M5 Pro. Yeah, you heard me right. We're going to put these against each other and find out which one is the true mobile device for content consumption and creation. Let's go. So looking through these side by side, you can see it, the definite difference is the larger screen. This is a 13-inch versus an 11-inch, and you can get the iPad Pro in the 12 plus range here, and so you can get close to the size of this. But I really like the size actually for mobility purposes. For moving around, the 11-inch is much easier to carry around, but I'm really digging this 13-inch Neo because you get a lot of good screen real estate and an actual MacBook experience, or Mac OS experience, that is, versus an iOS experience. What do I mean by that? Let's take a quick look. It's a lot easier to move around when you are doing a web browser. For instance, I like to use Microsoft Edge just because I like the tabs. I like the way it works, and you can save everything. The Safari is a little bit basic for me, and I know you can do tabs, you can do different things, but it's just still a little bit basic and a little bit confusing. And it's more, I feel like I'm more in a box of Apple's do it our way type thing. I think you just have a little more freedom. That's a lot of rambling just to say that I like Edge a little bit better, where Google Chrome is pretty much a ram hog. So anyway, what I really liked here is you got all the tabs here, so you could just easily click from tab to tab and change your settings here. And my internet seems to be slow this morning, so it's not the actual tablet itself, but you can just go and move around real easy, and I'm really enjoying that about the Mac. Now moving over to the iPad Pro, you can see it's pretty responsive, it's snappy, and I like to use Edge on it as well, but it gets kind of crazy at times. See here, if I want to go to another tab, it doesn't have them here. I have to go over here, and then I have to hit favorites, and then I got to go to my bar favorites. See how many steps it takes just to do the same thing right here? You just reach up and you grab a tab and go. So as far as productivity, you get a lot quicker performance, believe it or not, out of the Neo. Now, when it comes to the screen, you've got a much higher resolution here on the iPad Pro than you do the Neo, but I think on every day-to-day, you don't really recognize that difference, especially since you got a lot more surface here on this. I mean, give you an example. Let's go to the same web page here, which happens to be the GOT.com. We'll go here, pull it up, and well, actually show a little more here just because of the format. Interesting. But over here, of course, I can take this and I could shrink it down and get more this way. Over here, you could do the same thing, I believe, but it's just a lot more involved to make that happen. Now, they both perform really good. If you see any difference on the screen's dimness, I did dim them both so they pick up better on camera. And we got them both on the same page here. I'm going to go ahead and do some scrolling, and you can see how they both scroll pretty similar. Just scroll, and you get the same experience, really. I think that the Neo seems to be a little more responsive. Actually, because it has a larger trackpad, it makes it a little bit easier to handle and scroll. So I like that. But they both work very similar in that way. So as far as performance and use on a daily, just consuming content between the iPad Pro, this is the M5 versus the Neo A18 mobile chip, pretty much the same experience. But then again, we get to speed of use. It's just so much more on a MacBook than on the iPad. So now I want to point out something here on the battery. I don't know if you can see it. I'm at 22% here on this Neo laptop, and I could tell you, yesterday, I used it throughout the day. I probably could put a good 7 hours on this thing doing all kinds of stuff, which is, of course, installing apps. I did a little bit of video editing. I watched a couple videos and planned an entire vacation trip on it, doing a bunch of research and talking with ChatGPT to get it all ironed out. This thing lasted me easily a good 7 hours. And at the end of the day, I was at 22%, and I went ahead and close it up for the day to see what would happen overnight, and following morning I'm still at 22%. So in the Apple way, it still really does well on standby, because I have it set up so that when you close it, it just shuts down, and so you've got to open it up again, and you can see there, and I just use my fingerprint, which is nice. Brings it right back up, and the percentage, it went to 21%. So that standby didn't last long. Anyway, so I think the battery life on this thing is excellent. Now, on the iPad, on the other hand, using it off and on all day yesterday. I'm at 58% today. And again, it holds its charge just as well. Now, where they both drain really fast is when you really get productive. And what I mean by that is when I start editing videos. So let's compare editing videos on the two of them. So starting with the iPad, when I go in here and I go to edit a video, I use DaVinci Resolve here. So you see here on the iPad Pro, got a video here that I've been editing, and you can see it goes through really well. You can brush through it without any issues whatsoever, scanning through it. So that's nice. And of course, on the iPad, you have the touch screen. And that's one thing that I've noticed is I try to touch the screen on the Neo a lot and get it all smudged up. Well, it's not a touch screen, but you do have that on the iPad. So you can scrub through. You can scrub through with your finger, you know, with this, or you can actually do a mouse. And I have this great mouse, and I did a review on this as well. See here, I press this button once, and now I just switched over to my iPad. So I can use the mouse on the iPad, which is really awesome. So scrubbing through this, you can see I've got a lot of stuff going on here. And what I don't like is on this iPad, if I want to switch to another screen here, I click on this. Okay, it did it that time well, but every now and then I go to click on one of these, it closes the app because it brings up the bar. It's just a nuisance. Don't have that experience on the MacBook at all. So anyway, go here. Let's see, it just did it to me again. Go to this other page here, and you can see I've got a lot of stuff going on here on this video. And so now on this video, I've already completed it, and it's already been posted, so you could see it today. It's the S26 Ultra review, and you can see right here it's scrubbing through it really well. There's not an issue whatsoever on the iPad. And so I do a lot of my editing on the iPad, and you can see the playback doesn't have any problems. I'm here to tell you they were right. So it works really well on the iPad, and I don't have any issues. But I want you to note the screen size here on this and the amount of surface you have to work with. It's quite limited because this is an 11-inch iPad. That's not a complaint or a criticism. It's just a fact. It's just the way it is. But I do a lot of editing on my iPad on the go because it is quite capable and moves really quick. Now let's go ahead, and I am going to move this video over to the Neo, and we're going to see how it works. In order to do that, I've got to save it and back it up. So now something I do want to point out as I do this, you see here, I got this really nice portable drive here. It's by Ugreen, and I love it because this thing, and they don't sponsor the channel. This is not a paid review or anything. I bought this on my own money, but this is a really nice enclosure. It's made by Ugreen. You put your own SSD in here, your M.2 drive. I put a terabyte in here, and this thing works great. It's also actually MagSafe right here on the back, and it's pass-through charging. That's the most impressive part of this, is pass-through charging. Ugreen, if you listen to me, contact me. I'll review your product. Anyway, this is really nice, and it goes from product to product. And as you can see here, I put me a little metal attachment there on the back so that I could easily attach this on there. Whereas here on the MacBook here, I've got to plug it into the side. Now, there are two ports on the side of this. We talked about this before. You have a 3.2 that's closest to the screen, and a 2.0 that is closer to you. Now with this, I'm going to switch back to the MacBook, which happens to be number 2 in the middle here. There we go. Now I'm back on the MacBook, and what you got to do is you got to plug this into, let's plug it into the 2.0 port first so you can see what happens. And there we go. It's in the 2.0 port. And then what I'm going to do is close this out, and we're going to look at, so you can see right there, it says use other port for display. To use the external display, connect it to another USB port or Mac. That's talking about display. This is not a display. This is a USB drive, but because it is 2.0, it's going to be a lot slower. It does work, but if I put it over here on the other one, I can get a faster transfer rate. So put it on the 3.2 for transfers. Let's move this over so I'm not kinking this at all. So it sits there really nice. I like that. If I had a more flexible cord, I would probably put one of those MagSafe attachments on the back so I could do the same thing here. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and open up DaVinci Resolve. And while we do that, why don't we go ahead and record this screen. Now, I don't know if this thing's going to record screen and be able to do the work at the same time. Let's find out, because that's a lot of video driving here by doing that. Now let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring in that video that I just was working on the iPad, which this is really cool, folks. You can do this. You can swap between your machines, and this is right here. Let's open it. And now I'm going to be able to edit the video here. Okay. Yeah, it's this one right here. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. So there it is. And you can see it's got all the files right there. There are some missing, it looks like, but they weren't used in the project, so that's not a big deal. So you can see here, everything opened up fine. Now I've got a little bit more display room, as you can see here. And You can adjust things quite a bit on this screen, which you just didn't have the room to do so on the other ones. So you could get a lot more viewing here on this screen if you want to. You just have to set it up however you like. Anyway, so now let's look at scrubbing on this one. You can see here it scrubs just fine. You know, maybe not as smooth as the iPad, but it does scrub through okay. And then when you got playback, it does take a little bit of time sometimes for catch up, but it seems to be doing fine there. Now, some of the big differences between the two. Here on the MacBook, if I want to switch pages, I just click on them, okay? And it just switches, no problem. I don't have to worry about it shutting down the program, which I'm just loving it here on the tablet. And of course, I have a lot more room to work with and play with. And the playback, you know, again, is fine on the tablets or on the MacBook, that is. So when people say that this thing cannot do editing and it does not perform, I think it does fine. Now, this video is pretty high end. It actually has 4K video in it. When you look at this, it's got 4K, it's got 8K in it. So it's got quite a variety of video content in this thing. And 8K is virtually really impossible to edit with. But even on my Mac Studio, I have issues, so I have to proxy them. So if you proxy the video, and I'm not getting into the details, those that do editing, you'll know. If you proxy the video, then it's a lot smoother. And even on here, because the 8K footage has been proxied, it is quite a bit smoother. And the video on here that is 8K is my overhead footage. So you can see here, it'll switch. That's the overhead footage. That is actually 8K, and it has been proxied to make it go a lot smoother. Now, creating the proxies, I would not do that on the MacBook Neo because it takes a long time. I did that on my Studio, so it was a lot quicker, and then you just export it if you're going to be on the move and travel. Now, I don't often use 8K. It's for my overhead views only, but occasionally when I do, it can be the bottleneck in the editing. So anyway, back to task here. So you can see it works really well, but here's the major difference between them when it comes to exporting. So we're just going to call this test, and I'm not even going to fully export it. We're going to go ahead and we are exporting. You can see here in the video at 4K. So we're going to go ahead and start editing. Now I'm going to show you something because I believe it's going to error out because there is some slight imperfections. Like it noticed that there was a missing video, although it's not in the content that I'm making. So because of that, it says it failed. So if you guys ever have this issue, here is a simple trick. You go up here to DaVinci Resolve and go into your preferences and then go to user, and under user it says stop renders when the frame or clip cannot be processed. Go ahead and uncheck that because it is very precise and very picky about its rendering, and it'll stop at just about anything. So I'm going to save that, and then let's go back here and let's tell it to render it again, add and replace the one it started. So we should be able to get past that few second point. So it should just keep going. Now, as you can see here, it says that it's gonna, well, I guess I am missing video on that. Oh, well. You can see here, there is 36 minutes, you know, it's dropping pretty quick. So that's not too bad. I think it's going to pick up time, but the rendering speed on this, I just finally hit 1%, is very, very slow, even compared to the iPad. Of course, the iPad can be slow too. But if you're in a pinch and you're out and about, it'll do it. You can see the time is climbing on it now. It's up to 43, 45 minutes. That's a long time to render a video. This is a 20-minute video, so rendering it at double time isn't too bad, but of course, it's going up. You can see here, it's up to 50 minutes. And I believe it goes to over an hour and a half or whatever to do it. I'm not going to do all that, but this is just to show you and demonstrate what's going on. So let's go ahead and stop that. And let's go ahead and go back to the iPad, and we'll do that rendering process. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the program on the iPad, and we'll go ahead and it should just open up to the same project because it was already in it. So let's go here. See there? I hate that. Okay. Whenever you switch, if it's within this bar, you know, there's probably a way to stop that bar from popping up and doing it, but it works whenever I'm using the iPad for everything else. Okay. Let's go back here. Rendering. We are going to do a test again. And again, we're just going to start it and stop it. And let's see, location doesn't really matter, but let's go ahead and just tell it, okay, right there, open. So let's go ahead and render, and let's see what happens here on this one. So it's rendering, and it says it starts out saying it's going to do it in 18, 19 minutes. So a lot faster, as you can see here on the iPad. but it's going to climb as well. As you can see, it got to the 1%, oh, I don't know, 3-4 times faster than the Neo. So rendering, it does quite a bit faster than the Neo. It's got an M5 chip in it, folks, which it should be faster. It'd be nice if they put that M5 in the MacBook Neo, but then you'd be getting a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro, so that's why they didn't do it. But, you know, for mobile processing, I think the Neo does fine in a pinch. You can see there, after running it a bit, we're at 21 minutes still, so quite a bit faster than what we're going to get on the Neo. So as far as editing, it's something that's really doable on the iPad. So there you go. That's my real world comparison between the Neo here and the iPad. I think the Neo is just a little bit easier to work with on your everyday to day. The fact that it doesn't have a touchscreen doesn't really bother me if you got a good mouse. And of course, the keypad is a lot nicer on the Neo. I like the fact that all my apps are displayed here right at the bottom. You can get a lot more, of course, on the Neo than you can the iPad, which makes sense simply because it is a larger screen. And the fact that you can customize the home screen or display a little more here on the MacBook than you can the iPad, but you know, they both have their different purposes. Now, they both have 512 gigabytes of storage, which is nice. You have Face ID to open it up on the iPad, which is really nice. I wish they had just put that here in the Neo. They didn't. But the fingerprint is fine because you have to open this up in anyway. So that works really quick and works really well. So I do recommend, if you get the Neo, spend the extra $100, get the extra storage space from 256 up to 512, and that Touch ID, because it really does make a difference. I think that's the only change in the two of them. Hey, I want to thank you for tuning in to the channel and watching as we do a quick review on the Apple MacBook Neo versus the iPad M5 Pro. These are both great devices. If you get anything out of this video, do me a favor, smash that like button down below because it really does help out the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to do so you don't miss out on further content. Let's get back to the video. Now, I do want to cover camera real quickly on the Neo. Let's switch back to the Neo here. And it works really well, you know, especially when you got FaceTime. Let's open up FaceTime and you can see the camera there. It works really well. And you can see I'm exposing my secrets here. I'm in the studio with a big green screen behind me. But anyway, it works really, really well. And what's really nice about this thing too is you do have that great camera. And with this camera, you know, you can go outside with it and take some really good video, which is really cool. And the fact that it has a great 5x zoom on this thing. This is incredible. So even at 1080p, you get some great images. Oh, wait a minute. No, just messing with you. That's the iPhone. Let's go back to the camera. It is great for FaceTime or meetings, Zooming, whatever you want to do. Because let's face it, 1080p, 80% of the people out there in the world, probably that's the best they can do, or that's the most they do, is 1080p when they review things on their devices. And I would say for most cases, probably over 90% of the people don't go above 1080p when watching YouTube videos. So 1080p works great. Now, when we go to FaceTime here on the iPad, which I don't use FaceTime much at all, you can see it's a nice full screen and the image is really clear. I think they're the same. They're both 1080p, so you're not getting any better performance out of the camera here on the iPad, except the fact that it does have that Face ID. Let me give you an example here. Shut this thing off. So as you can see here, it's off. Turn it on. And where's it? It's on my face right there. There you go. Now you can open it. So it's really fast, really quick to use that Face ID unlock on the iPad. Now, here's a really cool feature here on the Neo. You can see here, you got the silhouette at top here. And see, I got two profiles. So you can switch profiles simply by clicking. And there you go. And I happen to know my wife's profile password. So you can switch profiles real easy right away. And that's really quick and easy right there from the screen. And of course, you set that up in settings to make that happen. And you could do the same thing when you boot it up. So close it, open it up. You can see it's just got my icon there. Well, once you hover over it, now we've got the two of them. So you can choose between them. So there you have it. There's some very simple comparison between the MacBook Neo and the iPad Pro M5. And as you can see, the M5 is a really huge powerhouse. But when it comes to daily use, you know, for the price difference, oh my gosh, the Neo is definitely a good deal. to get this thing for $6.99. But of course, if you're an educator or a military or whatever, and you can get that extra discount, you can get it for $5.99, which is what I did. And I think you just can't beat it. So when it comes between the iPad and the Neo, if you're just jumping into an Apple product or a larger product, going from an iPhone to something mobile and portable, I think the Neo is a great deal. It's going to meet, I guess, probably 95, 98% of the consumer's needs that are out there. So now the last test I want to do on this thing is charging. You can see here, I'm at 13% on this thing right now, and that's pretty low. And it's taken me a long time to get there. I've been filming this video, believe it or not, off and on for about the last hour. And we went from, we're at 21%, we're down to 13%. And I did a lot of video screen recording and different things, as you've seen here, tested the editing and everything else. I'm at 13%, still not even in the red zone. But let's go ahead and plug in a charger and let's see the difference in what this thing does between the two different ports. So we're going to rely strictly on my overhead camera here, and I've got a really nice handy dandy deal here. It tells you what the reading is when it charges. So I'm going to plug it right in here to this first port. As you can see here, this is the 2.0 port. So we'll plug it in and let's see. This thing supposedly will charge up to 30 watts. Now in the box, they only give you a 20-watt charger, but this thing will actually charge faster. And as you can see here, this thing is reading, it's upside down, I'm sorry, but it is at 28. It got up to 28. Now it's at 14 watts, 18 watts. So it's jumping around, and that's what these chargers do anyway. Now 29, 26. So you can see you're getting up to that 30-watt charging out of the 2.0 port. I got it plugged into a 65-watt charger. So you can see this thing can take the higher and faster charging. Now let's go ahead and move this thing over. I'm going to take and see where I'll at up to 14%. Take and put it over here in the 3.2 and see if we get anything. Now we might get consistently more charging. I don't know. But as you can see there, it got up to 29, 28, 26. So it's right up there, same. So you're getting the same speed of charging going with the 3.0. And of course, it's jumping, as you can see there, just like it did in the 2.0. So I don't think that you're getting any quicker or faster charging out of the 3.2. Some folks are reporting that they are. I'd have to do a full-blown test to find out. But as you can see, it's doing just fine there. And I want to demonstrate this real quick on this little external drive, really promoting this U-Green, I know. But if you take this thing and you plug it in right here, and you could do pass-through charging, plug it in right there, and you can see you've got it plugged in, and look at that charger. There I am at 14 down to 2. So it's going to do the same thing as just, look at that. It just hit 30, 28, because you have up to 100 watts pass-through charging on this U-Green external drive. And you can see there, it just hit 30. It's actually reading higher than what we did in the ports of the actual MacBook, because it's actually powering this and the MacBook, which is pretty incredible. And you can see that pass-through charging works great on this U-Green external drive. Now, that's enough of that, but now it's time to hear from you. What do you think of this little MacBook Neo? I think it's a great tool. I want to hear from you. Have you gotten one? Have you ordered one? Have you thought about ordering one? Have I shown you anything that really makes a difference for you? Leave me down in the comment below. Tell me what you think. I want to hear from you. If you have any questions about it, I do respond to every single comment. I'd be happy to respond to yours, whether I have an answer for you or not. I will respond. Now on this channel, GOT, we do a lot of content. We do phones, we do computers. I do a lot of product reviews. So check us out and watch some of our videos. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on further content. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.